everyone, and thank you for joining me for session number 4, the Security Management Architecture. There are three mechanisms that, when combined, create the service center: the directory server, the SMP, and third-party components. The directory server. The service center configuration database is stored in an LDAP-based directory server, which can be based on Microsoft Active Directory. Has many modules that provide us with the services for the service center. The first is the SMS, Software Management Server. Second is Software Transport Protocol, or SWTP, the SMC, which is the console, CVM, which is the content vectoring module, SCS, which is the CVP server, UFM, the URL filtering module, the vStream antivirus, vStream anti-spam, DNS resolving module, dynamic VPN module, event logging, reporting module, vulnerability scanning service, SMP application programming interface or API, self-provisioning portal, and SMP instances or portals. The Service Center overview. This is in essence how it looks. If we look at the left side right here, we can see that although it looks like there are many servers handling different aspects of the Service Center, everything is actually done on a single server or in an HA or load balancing topology on 2 servers or more. So as we can see, we have the directory server, or a component called the directory, the SMS, the SMTP, and the SMC. Keep in mind that the SMC is the graphic interface where the user changes different aspects of the gateway or profile and plan and so on. The SMS is the component that actually talks or communicates with the different gateways, as we can see right here. The SMTP relay server, which actually sends mails or notifications to the administrator or the users, whether it's reports or other critical notifications. And the directory server, which actually holds all the information as a database. On the bottom here, we can see the different types of vendors we can use in order to provide different types of services. For example, with the CVP server, which provides antivirus and anti-spam at the SMP level, and we will cover that on a couple of our next slides, we can use Trend, eTrust, Aladdin, and the homebrew software antivirus, which is based on Spam Assassin and Clem antivirus. The UFP server can use Surf Control, WebSense, and Secure Computing, or again the homebrew based on Secure Computing software homebrew UFP. And the log server, which the appliances send all their logs to the SMP for monitoring, notifying, and creating reports. The LDAP database storage. So the SMP function is a provisioning system. The SMP must store all the required data in an LDAP directory, a sort of a database. The SMP supports the use of the following LDAP servers: Microsoft Active Directory. Directory servers support large service center architecture setups and have advanced features such as database replication. Now, the database replication is based on the regular Active Directory replication Microsoft have to offer. The SMS performs the following tasks. It acts as a point of communication between the embedded NGX security appliances and the service center components. It provides the gateways with the security policy, user interface files, firmware files, and configuration settings that are assigned to them in the LDAP database. So anything you change in the GUI or in the SMC will be sent down to the SMS and then will be pushed or pulled from the SMS or through or from the gateway in order to receive that policy. It queries the gateways for their connection status, receives logs from all connected gateways, so at a certain interval the gateway sends all its logs to the SMS to be parsed and displayed, whether on reports or log tabs. It communicates with external servers to provide the gateway with services such as web filtering, mail antivirus, and mail anti-spam. Keep in mind that if it's a strong enough server, you can install all these components on a single server and it will work seamlessly. Acts as a domain name server or DNS for the gateways when using the dynamic DNS service. So imagine in a world where IP addresses or fixed IP addresses are expensive, like a world like ours, you can offer your customers a fixed URL, for example, mygateway.net.com, whatever, and this name will go with the gateway all the time, even when their IP changes, because the DNS server is the SMP. Every request to that gateway will go through the SMP to resolve and then send down to the gateway. It's organized in server groups. It reflects the service-centered design. So in a sense, if we understand the right topology, we can have geotopology. You can have two servers in North America, two servers that provide services to Europe, and manage everything from the same SMC console. It will determine which services will be provided, determine which servers will provide the services. SMSs inherit their service module and logging policy settings from server group to which they belong, and when an SMS group contains more than one SMS, you have the option for high availability and load balancing. SWTP, Security Transport Protocol. It's a proprietary protocol developed to enable communication between the embedded NGX or SafeIt Office appliances and the SMS. The SMS communicates with the embedded NGX appliances via authenticated and encrypted management tunnels. By default, the SMS uses port UDP 9281 to communicate with the gateway and listens on port UDP 9282. The Security Management Center, SMC. It is a web-based application for controlling the various SMP components and for managing, configuring, and monitoring all SMP user and system settings. It has access to the LDAP or to the database. It can change the settings there, and the SMC consists of an Apache web server and code for communicating with the LDAP database. The CVM or Content Vectoring module. It allows you to build a transparent proxy that automatically diverts selected traffic through a content filtering server without requiring any configuration on the client side. So if to make this easier to understand, imagine you activate this service, for example, for receiving emails. So you want every email that will be delivered to your host machine be scanned before it even reaches your computer, and even before it reaches your network. So even before it reaches the gateway. So imagine you click on Send Receive with Outlook or Outlook Express, and you start pulling your email. What happens is that the appliance knows that you have this service available. What it does, it hijacks the connection, sends the connection for you to the SMP with the username, password, the mail relay information, and the SMP sends that request for you to the mail server. It receives all the emails, it scans them, and then sends them back to you, clear of spam and antivirus, and clear of spam and virus. The SES. It represents a full OPSEC CVP antivirus and anti-spam solution based on the free and open source ClamAV antivirus system and the free and open source Apache Spam Assassin. It's included in the SMP installer and can be used with the CVM. The UFM module allows you to manage the web filtering service, which controls access to objectionable websites on a category basis, uses URL filtering protocol UFP to transparently control website access without configuration on the client side. Web filtering is performed either by blocking, allowing general URL categories, or by configuring specific black and white URL lists, what we call UFP rules. It uses the embedded UFP server based on secure computing or installation of an OPSEC UFP compliant server. This is just what it looks like when it works. When you try to go to a blocked site, it shows you a pop-up screen that it's blocked, and you have to enter a username and password to access that site. If it's an allowed site, you're seamlessly just going to that site. The vStream antivirus signature update engine. vStream antivirus. This is the antivirus different from the CVP antivirus that we talked about. This actually resides on the appliance itself and scans viruses on the fly. So it's embedded stream-based gateway antivirus engine based on checkpoint stateful inspection and application intelligence technology, performs on-the-fly virus scanning at the embedded NGX appliance kernel level, so very high performance. How does the service center get into this? So the central management of the individual appliances, vStream antivirus scanning policies and settings, you can actually set per gateway or per profile what policy you want to do with the antivirus. An automated virus signature update as a subscription-based service, so you can actually charge money for it. DNS resolving module, or DRM. It turns the SMP into a dynamic DNS server. It allows a service provider with SMP to offer dynamic DNS as a service. Allows the attachment of a fixed domain name to a gateway with a dynamic IP address. The service center then constantly checks for changes to the gateway's IP address and updates the mapping of the domain name to the IP address accordingly. How does this actually happen? Since the gateway connects to the SMS, as you remember, the SMS is the communication part between the SMP and the gateway, the SMS always knows the current IP address of the gateway. It then feeds the database with that IP address, and then the SMP itself, or the DNS module, always knows the current IP address of a certain gateway name, and the gateway name is the DNS resolving name. Dynamic VPN module, or DVPN. It allows the service provider to create large-scale IPsec-based VPN communities and to manage them in the SMP. By enabling DVPN for a community of embedded NGX appliances, you can quickly and easily create secure encrypted site-to-site and remote access VPN connections between hundreds of embedded NGX appliances. Very simple. You create a community, you pull different gateways to the same community, and bam, you have a VPN communication between them. Of course, you have to set what type of VPN, whether it's mesh, nested, star, what type of encryption do you want on that VPN. All that is done on the community one time. Once you drag the different gateways into that community, they inherit all that information and create a VPN tunnel between them. Event logging module, or ELM, remote logging mechanism that enables the SMS to collect security and event logs from managed embedded NGX appliances and to audit logs from various service center components. So aside from all the gateways sending all their logs, whether it's event logs or security logs to the SMP, the servers themselves notify the SMP with their status, whether it's hard disk information, CPU information, and so on and so on. Logs can be sent to an external syslog server, whether it's from the SMP or from the gateway itself. You can create an OPSEC event logging API compatible server, local Windows or Solaris event viewer depending on the operating system installed in the SMP computer, the SMC itself, which act as a syslog server as well. Logs are used by the SMP to generate comprehensive security reports, create notification emails, message, and alert for specific logs. For example, your appliance is under a DDoS attack or distributed denial of service attack, and you can get you can be notified about that. The reporting module allows you to create detailed HTML-based security reports from embedded NGX appliances, logs collected by the SMS. Reports include information about blocked attacks, detected viruses, filtered websites, and more. Reports graphically demonstrate the value of the embedded NGX firewall and additional managed service provided to your customers. You can configure the reporting module to automatically generate reports at specific intervals and automatically email the reports to customers and/or SMC administrators. The VSS, or Vulnerability Scanning Service. A bit of a point before that, this specific service is not provided in the cloud service, but if you have your own on-site SMP with an added Nessus server, you can provide this service to your customers. This is provided at no cost from Checkpoint. You have to understand how to use the Nessus server and the different licensing of that Nessus server. So it allows the service provider to scan gateways, networks, hosts, and installed applications for possible vulnerabilities, generate detailed HTML-based vulnerability scanning reports, and as I said before, the VSS requires the SMP to communicate with the Tenable's Nessus vulnerability scanner, which can be downloaded from this link. The API, Application Programming Interface. the web-based application programming interface that conforms to the SOAP or XML standard. The SMP API can be used by applications written in any programming language that supports SOAP web services, including Java, C++, Perl, and most other modern programming languages. And you can use the SMP API to integrate external systems with the SMP, like ERP, like inventory systems, and so on. Interface the SMP LDAP database with existing database at the service provider's premise, like a CRM system. Create customer self-provisioning portals. Self-provisioning portal. Customized application through which embedded NGX security appliance owners can perform online customization of settings and security policies, purchase additional services, view security reports for their gateways. So in a sense, you can provide your customer a way to configure their own policy or their own UFP policy and so on, but not directly on their gateway, since you usually don't want to provide your customers access directly to the gateway. So they can do it through the SPP. And then it's actually backed up and you can monitor it and you can see the logs exactly what changes have been made. The service center instances or portal, virtual servers. In a world where everything is now getting virtualized and you want to start and separate different SMPs, for example, you have one big customer with 1,000 gateways and you want to separate his policy from the regular customers, you can create two different portals on the same SMP and provide different policies, different global policies for each portal. This is again at no additional cost. This is provided when you have your own SMP on premise as part of the basic license. SMTP mail server. Service Center Architecture requires to access an SMTP relay mail server to complete some database functions and service provisioning tasks. SMP can send emails to gateway owners about changes in their Service Center account, viruses found in their network, subscription and registration information. SMP can send security and vulnerability reports. Installation of an SMTP mail server is mission critical for provisioning of the email antivirus and email anti-spam services for customers' outbound emails. This concludes session number 4. Please join us for session number 5, getting started with subscription-based services provisioning.